garbage cans floating away. Yeah, this sucks.
Tropical Storm Debby's second landfall proving to be just as destructive as the first, bringing a double threat of dangerous flooding and tornadoes to millions in its path. I'm Valerie Castro in for Gadi Schwartz, and this is Stay Tuned Now. Debby made landfall overnight in South Carolina, dumping more heavy rain in areas already flooded out. Before it weakened into a tropical depression, it left a new path of destruction in North Carolina. Reported tornadoes ripped apart homes, killing at least one person. That is at least the seventh death blamed on the storm. Just take a look at the damage left on a middle school. One of the reported tornadoes struck in the middle of the night when most people were sleeping.
Where was your grandma in all of this?
She was in this bed right here.
And she survived?
Yes.
Without scratch, really.
Mm-hmm.
That's remarkable.
The Carolinas also getting hit with more than a foot of rain in some parts, leaving roads washed out and water rushing into people's homes and businesses. Now Debby is expected to make the trek north, putting millions more people in its path. NBC News correspondent Priscilla Thompson joins us from Lumberton, North Carolina. Priscilla, the flooding threat isn't quite over yet for the Carolinas. What are officials saying about the damage that Debby could still cause over the next couple of hours?
Yeah, Valerie, well, one of the big issues that we're watching are rivers like this one. Just in the past few hours that we've been here, it's come up about 100 feet, and we have had to move back. And so this river is continuing to rise. It's expected to hit major flood stage. Right now, it is just on the cusp of that. And so that is one of the things that we're watching here, which could cause potentially more flood damage. And the other thing that we're keeping an eye on is that there are still inland communities that are getting a lot of rain right now. We saw a ground stop at the Raleigh airport just a short while ago. And there are also other areas like Charlotte that are getting a lot of rain and could potentially be at risk because of that rain. So keeping an eye on all of those things as we head into the night here and the storm continues to move north. Valerie?
Yeah, we know you've been talking to people there about what they've been experiencing. What are you hearing about the kind of damage that they're dealing with?
Yeah, so the good news is the water in a lot of these communities is starting to recede, but now it is going in and surveying that damage after overnight. Some communities got a lot of flooding. We were in Bladenboro a short while ago. That downtown area took about 3 feet of water, officials say. I spoke to a business owner there who says at 10:30 last night, the fire department called her and said, your business is flooding, and she rushed down there to begin to try to save what she could. She owns a furniture and home decor shop, and I want to play for you what she said happened after she got down there. Take a listen.
I got a text message from a dear friend that said, do you need any help? Are you guys okay? And I said, we're flooding, and my phone was almost about to die. And so she, I guess, initiated a call tree and kind of got everybody out. But we had probably about 20 people overall. And after they helped us at our store, we went over to help our pharmacy.
And that is so much of what we saw today in that community. Neighbors helping neighbors, a very small town there. And a lot of these folks, these are family businesses. And so in order to stay open, they need to keep those doors open in order to maintain their livelihood. So really looking to get back open and hoping that they'll get better infrastructure to prevent flooding like this from happening in some of those areas moving forward. Valerie?
And we know this has caused issues beyond flooding. There were multiple reports of tornadoes brought on by Debby last night. How extensive has that damage been?
Yeah, Valerie, and that is a scary thing when you're dealing with rain and there is a tornado in that mix, because a lot of people can't see them. They don't see them. And so the sirens go off and they're trying to figure out what's going on. And sadly, we know that one man lost his life just outside of Raleigh in that community of Lacama as that tornado tore through. But we have seen homes that were shredded and destroyed. There was a middle school that was also impacted there. So definitely some really scary stuff. And there's still some isolated tornado risk as we head into tonight. Valerie?
Okay, Priscilla Thompson, thank you. Tonight, dramatic new body cam video from the assassination attempt on former President Trump's life. It reveals the exact moment a police officer climbed onto the roof where the shooter was preparing to fire. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez has the story.
Yo, Chesky, go up me up once, bro.
Tonight, newly released body camera video is revealing more of the confusion and frustration right before and after former President Donald Trump was shot.
I told them they need to post the guys over here. I told them that the Secret Service. I told them that Tuesday.
The footage, some of which is no audio, is from the Butler Township Police Department in Pennsylvania. It shows two officers trying to intercept the gunman on a roof seconds before he tried to assassinate the former president last month. One officer lifts the other to the roof. He sees the gunman off camera and falls back to the ground. That officer then runs to his car to grab a weapon.
It's close, bro. Dude, he turned around on me.
As backup arrives, there's confusion about where the gunman is.
This building. He was on top of this building. The left one.
By the time that officer returns to the roof, a sniper had already shot and killed the would-be assassin. The officer questions the apparent lack of communication.
That's all I was calling out, bro. On top of the roof. Are we on the same frequency?
About 10 minutes after the shooting, another local officer is furious with the Secret Service.
I told them they need to post the guys over here. No, we're inside. In the building. I talked to the Secret Service guys. They're like, yeah, no problem. We're going to post guys over here.
Late today, the Secret Service said it was reviewing that body cam footage and updating its policies to ensure a tragedy like this never happens again. Last week, the agency's acting director testified before Congress that he could not defend why that roof was not better secured. Back to you.
Okay, Gabe, thank you. Earlier today, former President Trump spoke to reporters from his Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida, his first public appearance since Vice President Harris officially became the Democratic presidential nominee. In the wide-ranging hour-long press conference, he said he agreed to 3 debates with Vice President Harris, including one with NBC News. Then he went on to attack Harris, repeat falsehoods, and rev up some of his favorite talking points, like the size of the crowds at his appearances. Take a listen.
If you look at Martin Luther King, when he did his speech, his great speech, and you look at ours, same real estate, same everything, and you look at it, and you look at the picture of his crowd, my crowd, we actually had more people. He's worse than Biden because he got forced into the position. She was there long before. She destroyed San Francisco. The enthusiasm is with me and the Republican Party. President Xi and I had a very good relationship until COVID. And I held him responsible for COVID. It broke up our relationship. Now you have millions and millions of dead people, and you have people dying financially because they can't buy bacon, they can't buy food, they can't buy groceries. All of that being said, I think it's very important to have debates. She doesn't know how to do a news conference. She's not smart enough to do a news conference.
For more, let's go to NBC's Garrett Haake.
Tonight, at least one debate showdown now set between former President Trump and Vice President Harris for September 10th, with Trump announcing in a news conference he's also accepted debate invitations from 2 more networks and challenged Harris to commit as well.
We'd like to do 3 debates. We think we should do 3 debates.
Harris telling NBC's Shaquille Brewster she is committed to just 1.
Will you be participating in all 3?
I've always been on record. I am looking forward to debating Donald Trump, and we have a date of September 10th. I hear he's finally committed to it. I'm looking forward.
What about the other 2?
Let's make sure we get this.
Trump tonight also criticizing the vice president for not holding any news conferences or sit-down interviews in the 18 days since President Biden stepped aside.
She should be doing interviews. She doesn't want to do interviews. And the reason she doesn't is, number one, her policies are so bad.
A Harris aide told NBC News Harris and running mate Tim Walz would like to do a joint interview, quote, in a few weeks. While Trump was also asked about abortion rights, repeating his false claim most Americans wanted Roe v. Wade overturned, when polls show the opposite.
I think the abortion issue has been taken down many notches. I don't think it's a big factor anymore, really. We brought it back to the states. Everybody wanted it in the states.
Today, Harris and Walz in Michigan meeting union voters, part of a 5-day battleground barn storm.
You know, when you know what you stand for, you know what to fight for.
A new CNBC poll shows Trump leading Harris nationally by 2 points, within the margin of error, the same slim lead he had over President Biden. But Democratic enthusiasm has spiked. 81% of Democrats now satisfied with Harris as their nominee, compared to 33% who were satisfied with Biden.
To what do you attribute her rising in the polls as becoming a more competitive race since she's taken over for Biden?
She's a woman. She represents certain groups of people. But I will say this. when people find out about her, I think she'll be much less.
Trump campaign advisors tell me they're still confident about this race. They believe Harris's surge is a sugar high fueled by Democratic voters who had soured on President Biden. They believe Harris's record will prevent her from winning over the independents she needs to win this election. Valerie.
Vice President Kamala Harris and running mate Tim Walz are on a campaign blitz this week, meeting with United Auto Workers UAW members in Wayne, Michigan today. The union endorsed Harris just last week, and in today's stop, Harris and Walz made sure to thank them and also remind them of their ties to labor movements and Trump's lack thereof. Take a listen.
We know that unions built the middle class. The rest of America has to. You know who doesn't believe that? Donald Trump.
Even if you're not a member of a union, you better thank unions. That 5-day work week. You better thank unions for that 8-hour work day. You better thank unions for that vacation time.
NBC's Shaquille Brewster is in Detroit, Michigan. Shaq, first off, you got VP Harris exclusively on the record about debating Donald Trump. What did she say?
Yeah. Well, there's been a lot of back and forth about the potential of this debate. We know that Donald Trump backed out of the September 10th debate, and then it was earlier this afternoon he said that he would do this and proposed doing 2 others. So I want you to listen to a little bit of that moment when I asked Vice President Harris her response to Donald Trump agreeing to at least the one debate that they both say they want to do.
Madam Vice President, Donald Trump agreed to 3 debates. Will you be participating in all 3?
I've always been on record. I am looking forward to debating Donald Trump, and we have a date of September 10th. I hear he is finally committed to it. I'm looking forward.
What about the other 2?
Let's make sure we get this vote. However, everyone.
Now, you heard me ask there at the end, what about the other 2? She didn't address it there, but when she got back to the plane and she talked to some reporters who were waiting on the tarmac there, she did say she's willing to have a conversation about future debates. We know that NBC has offered to host one of them later in the month of September. So it's possible, I should say, that we'll see those 2 on the debate stage more than once. But for now, you can mark your calendar for September 10th for the showdown with Vice President Harris and former President Donald Trump.
All right, and turning to today's event, Biden has always said that he is the most pro-union, pro-labor president in history. How do Harris and Walz compare, and what did you hear from union members there?
Yeah, I had a lot of conversations with union members here as they were listening to both Vice President Harris and Governor Walz. I want you to listen to some of those conversations that I had before they spoke, and we'll talk a little bit more on the other side.
Vice President Harris is coming to speak to the UAW.
I'm so excited.
Why are you so excited?
Because I'm just so ecstatic about her, because she is the one for us. She's for the working class.
As long as she tell us that, hey, and which they've always done, hey, that you know what, she's with us no matter what. The auto industry means as much to her. The Midwest means as much to her. The middle class means as much to her. Hey, you know what? We can't ask for much more than that.
And that exact sentiment that you heard in that soundbite there, that was conveyed throughout the remarks from UAW President Shawn Fain. And when the members heard from the Democratic ticket, you know, one thing that I heard from union members is that, yes, they loved President Biden. He was one who came out on the picket line during their strike almost a year ago. But a lot of those warm feelings are also being transferred over to the vice president. And then you look at Governor Walz. He is a union member. He was a teacher. The positive feelings that union members, at least here, have toward the Biden-Harris administration, they say that that will extend to the Harris-Walz administration if you heard them say it up there, if they put in the work to make that happen.
And Shaq, I want to talk about something that happened yesterday. There was a moment in Detroit with pro-Palestinian protesters at a rally there. Let's play some of what happened, and then we'll talk about it.
I'm here because we believe in democracy. Everyone's voice matters, but I am speaking now. I am speaking now. You know what? If you want Donald Trump to win, then say that. Otherwise, I'm speaking.
All right, so there's been a lot of talk about this. Tell us what happened here and who were the protesters?
Yeah, those are a group of about 9 to a dozen pro-Palestinian protesters at that rally last night. It's something that we almost became accustomed to seeing, especially when it was President Biden at the top of the ticket. This, of course, was the first time that we've seen Vice President Harris's remarks interrupted because of protests. And look, we learned a little bit more after that about the conversations between leaders of the movement, the so-called uncommitted movement that helped get about 100,000 people here in Michigan during the primary to vote against President Biden in a protest vote to kind of convey their frustration with the war in Gaza and the U.S. involvement in that. We learned that at least 2 leaders of the movement met with Vice President Harris before that event. We do know that it was a brief encounter. It was described as an emotional encounter. They asked the Vice President to commit to an Israeli arms embargo, the campaign not saying or touching that, but they are saying at least that they're open to engaging with members of this community. Of course, an incredibly important community here in Detroit, here in Michigan, a battleground state, and a community that has been very frustrated by what they've been seeing out of the Biden administration, and say that they want to and see an opportunity to engage with Vice President Harris as she's now at the top of the ticket.
All right, Shaquille Brewster for us in Detroit, Michigan. Shaq, thank you. Don't go anywhere. We're just getting started. Up next, new information about the now thwarted attempt to attack Taylor Swift's concerts in Vienna, the shocking confession made by one of the suspects, and how Swifties are responding. Plus, the long road to recovery. Our Steve Patterson is in Lahaina 1 year after the beginning of the deadly wildfire. The grief and struggle people are still grappling with. And later this hour, we head to Paris, where athletes and our Gadi Schwartz are getting ready for a decades-old Olympic event to get more modern. Think Ninja Warrior.
What's the first thing I need to know?
You know, you have to know how to jump and how to land.
It sounds like you're saying step 1 is like learn how to fall down.
Exactly.
Okay.
Welcome back. Let's take a quick look around the world. Nobel Prize winner Muhammad Yunus has been sworn in as interim leader after weeks of chaos on the streets of Bangladesh. His leadership comes as the country grapples with the aftermath of deadly protests and the resignation of the long-serving Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Yunus has vowed to guide Bangladesh toward a peaceful transition. Thousands of anti-racism protesters gathered in the UK this week in direct response to a wave of racist attacks targeting Muslims and migrants, which were sparked by false claims online, blaming immigrants for the deadly stabbing of 3 young girls. A state of emergency has been declared in Russia's Kursk region after a cross-border attack by Ukraine today. The incursion marks a significant escalation in the conflict with Russia. And a Russian chess player is under investigation for allegedly trying to poison her opponent. Officials say a video shows her spraying the chessboard with what they say is a substance containing mercury. Russian authorities say she now faces a possible lifetime ban and potential criminal proceedings. New details on the alleged plot to carry out a terrorist attack on a Taylor Swift concert in Vienna and the tip from U.S. intelligence that led to the arrest of the suspects. NBC News chief international correspondent Keir Simmons has the latest.
This 19-year-old, who investigators say was ready to kill himself and large numbers of people using knives and explosives at a Taylor Swift concert in Vienna this week, was arrested yesterday at his apartment 50 miles from the stadium. Police revealing they found bomb-making manuals, explosives and detonators. The 19-year-old had recently quit his job, saying he had big plans, they say, adding he had consumed large amounts of ISIS and al-Qaeda propaganda. A 17-year-old alleged accomplice, who officials say had recently taken a job providing services for the Taylor Swift concert venue, was also arrested. And a 15-year-old is being questioned. NBC News has learned the concerts were cancelled after a tip from a U.S. intelligence agency.
Every night that summer just to see my face.
Taylor Swift fans consoling each other in Vienna today.
I'm devastated. I feel so sad. I'm so glad everyone is safe.
This girl came from California to celebrate her 13th birthday.
There were a lot of tears, but I'm happy that other people are feeling the same and we're having a lot of fun together.
This plot appears to have been hatched in only the last weeks and months, while Austria has not raised its threat level, and Swift plans to continue her concert tour in London.
A 7.1 magnitude earthquake hit Japan earlier today, prompting officials to issue its first ever megaquake warning, meaning the chance for an even bigger earthquake is, in their words, relatively higher than usual for the next week. Today's earthquake struck near Japan's southern island of Kyushu. There have been no immediate reports of serious damage or injuries, but officials say its nuclear power plants are operating normally, which is a concern that we will talk about in a moment. Let's bring in NBC News correspondent Dana Griffin to tell us more. So, Dana, what do we know so far about this massive quake, and should Japan brace for a tsunami?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, that magnitude 7.1 massive earthquake struck just before 4 a.m. Eastern time near the country's southeast coast. Obviously, you saw in that video some offices shaking, some shaking at the airport. Now, this is not a situation where residents need to fear that a tsunami is imminent, but because they raise the sort of advisory for a tsunami, this just means that it's not out of the possibility that it could happen in the future. So the country is warning residents to just stay vigilant this week and to be prepared, because this could have been a precursor to something even more massive. Valerie?
Yeah, we know this is the first time that the country has ever issued a mega quake alert. Tell us more about what that is.
Yeah. So researchers have long anticipated what is considered an 8 to 9 magnitude megaquake, which could be even more impactful or similar to that 9.1 quake that Japan experienced back in 2011 that killed some 18,000 people, rattled the country, and even created a scare at Fukushima. And so this is the concern, is that these conditions are ripe for these sort of mega quakes to happen. You know, Japan sits on the circum-Pacific belt known as the, quote, ring of fire, and that's where the tectonic plates meet, and that could lead to lots of quakes and volcanic activity. You've also got part of the U.S.'s Pacific coast also in that ring of fire. So there's now a ton of effort in place to try to prepare for such an event, because it would just be a seismic hazard. You would have shaking, potentially tsunamis. And experts say even here in the U.S., we need to be prepared for the potential for a megaquake too.
Even just the term megaquake sounds absolutely terrifying. Can people prepare for something like that? Any safety tips that would actually work?
Yeah, absolutely. You can start by just taking a look around your house and seeing what could easily fall if the house were to shake sideways, up and down, like TVs, bookshelves, refrigerators. You can shore those up by having latches and hooks so that they don't fall over. You also want to have several kits. Even information that I learned today, you want to have a kit that contains enough essentials for a few days, that contains food, waters, batteries, an emergency radio. You also want to have a longer extended kit that can last you for 2 weeks. And this is an interesting one. It's called a bed kit. It literally stays by your bed in case a megaquake hits while you're sleeping. And something you should keep in there is actually shoes with sturdy soles, because when you have an earthquake that massive, glass breaks, and that's the #1 cause of injuries during these quakes. That can help you navigate. You also want to have a flashlight, a whistle, and a dust mask that can help as you wait, say if you're trapped, and that whistle and flashlight could help rescuers reach you. Valerie?
A lot to think about, but good to be prepared. Dana Griffin, thank you.
Yeah.
Potential major moments in the war between Israel and Hamas. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office says Israel will send a delegation to attend negotiations on a ceasefire deal a week from today. The White House saying in a statement, quote, "It is time to bring immediate relief both to the long-suffering people of Gaza as well as the long-suffering hostages and their families. But if those negotiations do go forward, they will do so as both Arab and Western countries try to head off a larger Middle East war." NBC's Matt Bradley has more tonight from Beirut.
Well, the entire Middle East is waiting with dread for Iran's supposed retaliation against twin Israeli assassinations over just the past week. Now, the Israelis are presumed to be behind both of these assassinations, up top Hezbollah and top Hamas official. The Iranians have said they will retaliate. So has the leader of one of Iran's main proxy groups in the Middle East here in Lebanon, Hassan Nasrallah of Hezbollah. Now, U.S. officials have been saying that Hezbollah, which is based just along Israel's northern border with Lebanon, is more likely to retaliate first, both because of their proximity and because they're well armed and have experience in attacking and dealing with the Israelis. But now it looks as though Israel's security cabinet, according to the New York Times, is convening tonight to discuss their preparedness. And this comes as the Wall Street Journal is reporting that top U.S. officials have warned the Iranians that they will pay a heavy price if they retaliate in such a way as to really antagonize the Israelis and potentially spark a region-wide war. Now, already we're seeing American naval and military and air assets being moved to the region. F-22s, those stealthy jets, these will be used to defend both the Israelis and U.S. military assets in the region and bases that have already been coming under attack. We've seen increased fire against U.S. military installations in Iraq, and now shipping once again off the coast of Yemen by another group that's backed by the Iranians, those Houthi rebels. Now, seeing all of these different parts moving at the same time, it's becoming clear that any Iranian retaliation could involve not just the Iranians, but also their so-called axis of resistance of groups they support throughout the region. That risks a major Israeli retaliation to that retaliation, and that could drag the entire region into a blistering war.
All right, Matt Bradley, thank you. Coming up, COVID cases are on the rise worldwide. What we know about the subvariant fueling the summer surge and how you can better protect yourself. But first, you got to see this. The San Diego Zoo officially opened its new habitat, Panda Ridge, for its foreign guests. Yun Chuan and Xin Bao, the first pandas in the U.S. in 21 years. California Governor Gavin Newsom and others welcomed the pandas earlier today in a kickoff ceremony. The pandas arrived in late June, but spent the last month adapting to their new home and eating bamboo, of course. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Here are some of the other headlines we're watching tonight. A lockdown at UC Berkeley has been lifted. It all began when police responded to a man firing a gun near a track on campus. No one was hurt, but police are still looking for the suspect they say is responsible. UC Berkeley police said there will be extra patrols around campus and are still investigating the nearby area. A third person has died from listeria linked to that outbreak with Boar's Head deli meats. 43 people in multiple states have been hospitalized. Boar's Head recalled products include many supermarket deli meats. Listeria is caused by a bacteria that can survive and even grow during refrigeration. Family members of that Titan submersible crew have filed a $50 million lawsuit against the vessel's manufacturer. The wrongful death suit accuses the operator of gross negligence, saying OceanGate had a troubled history and failed to disclose key facts about the sub. A man was killed in an apparent drowning at the CrossFit Games. It happened today in Fort Worth, Texas, where rescue crews recovered a body during the swimming leg. The victim was identified as 28-year-old Lazar Dukic of Serbia. The rest of today's events were canceled. CrossFit officials say they're taking part in the investigation. And Saturday Night Live is still on the hunt for a Tim Walz impersonator. Steve Martin declined to play the role, saying he's not an impressionist, despite people on social media saying the actor would be the perfect person to play the Democratic VP pick. Maya Rudolph is expected to reprise her role as Kamala Harris when SNL returns this fall. An unexpected twist today at the Olympics. American track star Noah Lyles ran the 200-meter final after testing positive for COVID. Lyles didn't say anything publicly about the test until after he won the bronze medal. He was favored to win gold in the race. Questions swirled about his health after he left the track in a wheelchair. Lyles says he has been taking Paxlovid as treatment. While his circumstances are unique, his diagnosis is not. Dozens of athletes at the Olympics have tested positive for COVID. The World Health Organization says cases are on the rise in 84 countries. Let's bring in NBC's medical fellow, Dr. Akshay Syal, to talk more about this. Dr. Syal, we talk about a summer surge every year. Why is that? And is what we're seeing this summer any different?
Hey, Valerie. Well, I can tell you, I spoke to a virologist at Johns Hopkins University for this story, Valerie. And what he's telling me is that him and his colleagues weren't actually expecting to have summer surges this many years into COVID-19. Remember, this virus first came out, really took a hold in 2020. We're at 2024, and we're still seeing these summer surges. And I think, by now, a lot of us thought this would settle into a seasonal pattern, kind of like the flu, where you see a lot of cases in the winter only. But we're kind of seeing this in the summer as well. And so, what makes this different? Valerie, I talked to Ashish Jha, Dr. Ashish Jha, who used to run the White House COVID task force back when, there was still, doing that at the White House. And he says that he's actually expecting this to be the worst summer surge that we've had in terms of infections. We have more transmissible variants that are out. We have people who are gathering indoors because it's, quite frankly, so hot outside. And so those are some of the reasons you're seeing all these cases out now, Valerie.
And the CDC says that as of 5 days ago, the dominant subvariant in the U.S. is called KP.311. What do we know about it, and are there any specific symptoms with that variant?
Yeah, it really rolls off the tongue there. So, what we know from this so far is we think it's more contagious, Valerie, right? Just by the nature of the beast. It is a variant that has become dominant in this country. And by nature of that, we suspect it is, more contagious. And Valerie, on a personal note, I actually tested positive for COVID this week myself. I was having symptoms earlier this week in terms of a sore throat and body aches. And I tested positive myself. But in terms of what symptoms we're expecting with this, we don't expect it to be any different in terms of sore throat, dry cough, body aches, and you might get a fever as well. But if you have any trouble breathing, that is a sign to definitely call your doctor.
Well, I'm glad you're feeling well enough to join us tonight, Dr. Sayel. Back to school right around the corner. How should people protect themselves? We know there's a booster coming out next month. Will that protect against this subvariant?
And that's where I get to give some good news here, Valerie. So there is a booster coming out. We're expecting the FDA to sort of okay this in the coming weeks, both from Moderna and Pfizer. It is going to be more tailored to this sort of family of variants that we have. But Valerie, there is some good news in this COVID summer wave, and that's that hospitalizations and deaths remain at a very, very low level. So for most people out there, yes, it may be uncomfortable. You may get sick and be out of commission for a few days. But fortunately, you shouldn't end up in a hospital. You shouldn't end up in an ICU. So, for all those worried about back to school, I wouldn't stress too much about this. But for those who are high risk, including those over the age of 65, those with weak immune systems, you definitely want to get that vaccine when it comes out. Valerie.
All right, Dr. Sayel, I hope you're feeling better. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Anytime.
Still ahead, images out of Alaska looking like they could be from a Hollywood backlot. Glacial melting leaving homes completely flooded. What's driving this unprecedented event? Ahead in our temperature check. Welcome back. Here are some of the stories happening out west that we're following. Denver police fired 3 officers after an investigation found they sent disparaging messages in a group chat, joking about going to a migrant shelter for, quote, target practice. The Denver Police Department says it learned about the text back in April and terminated the officers late last month. The Las Vegas Strip Casino Resorts World is conducting daily hotel room inspections and is citing a hacking convention for the reason. According to the hotel, the inspections will be brief, scheduled, and non-intrusive. Last year, MGM and Caesars were targets of a cybersecurity breach. And now to the latest on those western wildfires. The Park Fire in California has burned over 426,000 acres and is 34% contained. It's the largest fire in the U.S. and the 4th largest in California's history. The Crozier Fire is burning around 60 miles east of Sacramento. That started yesterday and has quickly grown to more than 1,300 acres. And the Paddock Fire in Idaho has burned over 120,000 acres and is 5% contained. It's grown more than 60,000 acres in the past day. Today marks 1 year since the deadly Maui wildfires. The tragedy claimed more than 100 lives and displaced thousands. The anniversary coming just a week after hundreds of survivors reached a $4 billion settlement with government agencies and Hawaiian Electric. The funds are expected to go a long way in the rebuilding process. NBC's Steve Patterson is in Lahaina tonight. Steve, you were there on the ground a year ago as the fire swept through Maui. You've been back for a few days now. What have you seen, and has there been any progress at all?
Oh, significant progress. I don't think anybody can dispute or argue that. Certainly, Lahaina looks vastly different than it did even about 6 months ago or so, when there was still a whole lot of that destruction built up, left on the ground, and the EPA was going through trying to clean out hazardous materials. Now they're clearing lots altogether. About 90% of the fire zone, the burn zone in Lahaina has been cleared. It means that there is some life that is coming back. It means houses now have permits that are being built on the original site. It also means that people have a sense of hope again, and that's something that we certainly heard. We spoke to one woman in the burn zone who was kind of watching her home be reconstructed from the ground up. She had tears in her eyes. She told me about why it was important for her to stay in Lahaina. And my big question is, why would you stay in a place like this that is so thoroughly burned? Here's her answer. I've spoken to so many people who've lost something in a fire and just want to leave.
Right.
Why are you choosing to stay?
Gosh, I'm not sure. I just had this incredible motivation to rebuild. I have thought about moving, but the urge to rebuild and come back overpowers that. I loved my home here. I loved this neighborhood. I'm from Lahaina, born and raised, so I couldn't imagine not sticking it out.
But of course, there are many more issues. Not only, there are maybe 20 homes that are currently going up as we speak. That's 20 out of the thousands that have burned. There is a long road to go in the fire zone, but also outside of the fire zone. Thousands of these people were displaced in that fire. They've had to sort of cobble together a makeshift way to get to temporary housing, to somehow get to permanent housing, to get to something that is viable. There was a recent survey that found that 60% of people since the fire that responded to that survey have moved around at least 3 times since the fire. 70% say they were impacted by the fire in some way. There was a whole lot more work to do as far as transparency, as far as the red tape that needs to be cut for a lot of people to get the assistance and get the permits that they need. And I think the government here knows that. They're working on that, and they're responding to it. Valerie?
Steve, we mentioned that $4 billion settlement. What does that look like, and does that mean there's any admission of fault?
So there are multiple agencies that are a part of this lawsuit. I believe 7 or so, including the state, including the county, the governor's office. The lion's share will come, of course, from the electric company, HECO, Hawaiian Electric, expected to pay about half of that $4 billion. The rest of the distribution is sort of being worked out as we speak. It has to go through court. It has to go through the legislature. And it won't hit until maybe about 2025. And even when it does hit, it will come in installments. So quite a while before survivors to get that money, to see any of that. But the governor, in speaking to him, has assured me that it will reach those survivors. That money will stay in the community. It is not an admission of guilt, though, Valerie. That the sort of the reporting on who did what is yet to come out. There's another separate ATF report that we should expect over the next month or so, and we should learn a whole lot more about it then. But it is a help, of course, to the community to sort of jumpstart some of these projects, including housing projects that the governor in the state wants to get underway. Valerie.
Yeah, I'm sure that can't come soon enough. Steve, there was a 2-acre fire in Maui just yesterday. I imagine people are on edge anytime something like that happens. Is the state better prepared for fires now? Has anything changed in the last year?
They are. I think everybody is just a little bit more vigilant, right? We saw the response to that fire. The emergency management team that is on the ground is significantly bigger by way of about 13 people in more senior positions that have had experience fighting fires. And then the amount of alerts that go out and the people that are responding to those alerts, much more vigilant than you had before. I think people are really hyper fixated and focused on any sign or hint of smoke that could mean a fire, that could mean an evacuation. People are really in tune with it. Unfortunately, it's sort of part of the trauma that I think still lingers here, but part of that trauma means a higher state of readiness. And so not only is the agencies that are working on it more responsive, but so too are the people that are alerting those agencies as well. Valerie.
Steve Patterson, thank you for that reporting. And now to Alaska, where a summer heat wave continues to accelerate the melting of glaciers, leading to scenes like this.
They project it's going to be about a foot higher than it was last year, which means it's definitely going in the house. 5:30, and it is officially in the yard. 7:30, we've officially been breached. It is 9:30. And we are getting out of here.
Wow, in just a few hours, billions of gallons of water from a burst ice dam flooded into neighborhoods around Juneau earlier this week. More than 100 homes were damaged in what officials are calling an unprecedented event.
You can see where we've walked because all of this is very fine. It's called silt. It's from the glacier. The most obvious damage is our fence. We're going to have to completely redo this.
NBC News national climate reporter Chase Kane joins me now. Chase, those images are just astonishing. Explain how this happened.
Well, I mean, first of all, last summer in the Arctic was the hottest summer on record. And then this summer appears to just be continuing that trend. I mean, just within the last few days, look at this. It was warmer in the Arctic Circle than it was in South Florida. There were some towns in the Canadian Arctic that have broken records in just the past few days. So what does that mean? Well, of course, ice glaciers aren't going to like temperatures like that in the upper 80s, close to 90 degrees, certainly. So I want to explain to you how this happens with these glacial lakes. So you have a glacier that's often on the side of a mountain, and then you'll have sort of like a mountain lake there where some of the water naturally melts and collects. And then here on the far right side of your screen closest to me, you see that there's kind of like a dam. It can be made of ice, it can be made of dirt. But what happens is that as that glacier melts, and it's called calving when a big chunk of it breaks off, sometimes that glacier will calve and a big chunk of ice just falls into the lake. What that does is it creates a wave that can either overtop the side of the dam. In some cases, it can break the dam, and it sends a wave of water rushing into the town. I mean, what we saw in some of those videos is actually mild compared to what can happen in these scenarios when you have almost like a tsunami type wave that can wash homes off of the foundation. So certainly not a good thing what those people in Alaska are dealing with, but there is the capacity for this to be even more intense.
And it's not just the Arctic where glaciers are melting, right? Glacial flooding has been reported in places like Iceland, Italy, Pakistan in the last few weeks. What is the climate connection there?
I mean, this is happening all around the world, and this is not just the fingerprints of climate change. This is the evidence of climate change, of just how quickly our planet is heating up. 2023 was the hottest year on record. Many paleoclimatologists think it was the hottest year in human civilization, and this year is on track to be the same. And so you think about glaciers and ice, they're just not supposed to be experiencing some of these temperatures. I mean, close to 90 degrees we were just showing you. In Antarctica right now, it's wintertime, and they're still seeing temperatures in the Antarctic that are 20, 30 degrees above average. And so, of course, the consequences of this is sea level rise. I mean, we talk about that, how sea level rise is already affecting our coastal communities. And so that's a very direct threat that anyone on our coast can tell you about. But then the other thing that's a little less clear to people is that when these glaciers melt, when the Arctic and Antarctic warm as quickly as they are because of climate change, that also throws off our weather patterns here in the United States. It can make our weather much more erratic. And, you know, we're also seeing the evidence of that this summer, Valerie.
All right. A lot of good information there, Chase. Thank you. Before we go, tonight it's time for the future of everything, checking the facts about X's fact-checking system. Just how often and how far misinformation is being spread by Elon Musk himself. That's in the future of social media. Plus, out with the old, in with the new at the Olympics, but not just yet. How the modern pentathlon will be, well, more modern in 2028. Gadi is getting a first-hand look. Now for the future of everything, tonight we are talking Elon Musk and misinformation. The owner of X is being criticized for his online commentary in both the U.S. and U.K. One analysis found that misleading or false claims about the U.S. election by Musk have generated more than 1 billion views on the social media platform this year alone. Meanwhile, in the U.K., police and government officials clashed with Musk over posts about the U.K. riots. Take a look.
What are you considering when it comes to dealing with people who are whipping up this kind of behaviour from behind a keyboard, maybe in a different country?
Being a keyboard warrior does not make you safe from the law.
The UK's technology minister went a step further, saying in an interview that Elon Musk is, quote, the one person who is accountable to no one, end quote. NBC News tech reporter David Ingram joins me now. So, David, is that true? Is Elon Musk accountable to no one?
Valerie, that's an excellent question, and there are so many people who've been asking that question for a long time. Elon Musk does seem to be someone who can escape accountability in countless situations. He's been sued for defamation, and he went to trial, and he beat that. A Delaware court struck down his massive pay package at Tesla, and he is fighting to get that many billion-dollar package back. And here he's been spreading misinformation and false and misleading claims on his own social network, X, and there's not much, so far at least, that people have been able to do about it. We do have members of the British Parliament who have said that they would like to interrogate this question and maybe hear from Musk himself if he will appear before Parliament maybe later this year. But in the meantime, there's very little there's very little standing in Musk's way as he seeks to influence the election here in the U.S. and affairs in the U.K. as well.
Mm-hmm. Just today, he deleted a post that was sharing a known fake news story, but not before it was seen over 1 million times, right?
He did, and he hasn't explained why. He seems to have fallen for a hoax. This was a literal fake news story that was posted online by a party leader in Britain. Musk retweeted it, treating it as fact, and it was up for a good 30 minutes, seen by 1 or 2 million people before he took it down without explanation. And so Musk, as the owner of X, seems to have few safeguards around what he posts there.
Now, you mentioned safeguards, and the irony is there is a community notes feature on X, which is supposed to filter out the fake news. Is that system not working?
It doesn't appear to be working, or at least not nearly as effectively as it would need to fact check all the claims that Musk is making. So you mentioned the study earlier that came out today saying that Musk had tweeted 50 different times about election misinformation, and none of those 50 claims had a community note this year. These are the notes that are proposed and voted on by users of X. They're supposed to be one of the safeguards against misinformation spreading because users can add context or correct a post. But Musk's tweets generally don't have them. And that's either because voters have voted them down on X or for some other reason. So whatever system that X has to limit the spread of misinformation, here we are less than 100 days before the election, and Musk seems to, again, have no real barriers to spreading these kinds of claims.
All right, NBC News tech reporter David Ingram, thank you so much. And a near historic upset today at the Olympic Games in Paris. The U.S. men's basketball team trailed Serbia by as much as 17 points. But thanks to 36 points from Steph Curry, Team USA pulled off the comeback. 95-91, the final score. They move on to play for gold this Saturday against home team France. Also in Paris, our very own Gadi Schwartz is looking ahead to the next Summer Games. Big change is coming to the modern pentathlon. Think flying through the air. Take a look.
It's a summer game that always takes us back in history. Even though it's called the modern pentathlon, it was introduced over a century ago and included all the things you might need to be a soldier back in the day. Sword fighting, running, swimming, shooting, and riding horses. These days, warriors don't take horses to battle. They do, however, fly over obstacles like no horse ever could. That's right. So starting in 2028, the modern pentathlon is ditching horses for obstacle courses, which means the next Olympic proving grounds might be full of ninja warrior types.
All right, so Matt, you've seen Ninja Warrior explode over the years. What do you think it is about obstacle racing that makes it so big?
One of the things that I think we see with Ninja Warrior is so often people who are drawn to it are people who might not have fit in traditional sports. So to me, it's been a great place for athletes to find a whole new home.
And even though obstacle courses aren't in the games yet, you might have noticed a certain torchbearer with some nimble moves in those opening ceremonies, the kind that could come in handy in future pentathlons. In France, they call it parkour, a discipline that was started decades ago right here by Charles Perrier.
I remember our dreams when we were very young was, oh, maybe one day we will be Olympics.
What's the first thing I need to know?
You know, you have to know how to jump and how to land.
It sounds like you're saying step one is like learn how to fall down.
Exactly.
Okay.
Like, and get up like a ninja.
Don't overthink it.
Finally, it was time for a tryout.
So you've seen the whole run now?
I've seen it.
Are you ready for a little race?
Let's do it.
Okay.
And as you can see, with a bunch of training, you can learn to cover a whole lot of ground very quickly, unless, of course, you're that guy over on the right there.
France, we will see you in 2028 in Los Angeles.
As for whether obstacle could grow beyond, Well, for now, we'll just take it one step at a time.
It's the first step. People hopefully will embrace the obstacles because it's going to be different. But I think by I hope 32, but by certainly 2036, you will have American Ninja Warrior in the Olympics.
Who would have thought? That does it for us tonight. I'm Valerie Castro. We'll see you tomorrow, but until then, stay tuned now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.